The threat of death and destruction is so close when you're just 30 kilometers from the Russian border. Ukrainian forces reclaim this region in the northeast, but there's no trophy, just a ravaged landscape, a constant reminder the Russians could return. 9 months into the Russian invasion, Ukrainian soldiers know what they need to quickly get in and out of hot zones. In the early months of the war, the equipment wasn't great. Pickup trucks, SUVs, and eventually captured Russian tanks. But now they have a much better option, a new high-tech armored vehicle named the Senator, which passes the only test that matters here.
Don't know any cases when someone from my friends or Ukrainian soldiers was killed in this car, so it means that it is provide high-quality protection for soldiers.
You might be surprised to learn where the Senator was not only designed, but built in a nondescript building in a manufacturing neighborhood near Toronto's Pearson Airport.
It starts here, right?
Starts here. That's the first stage, starting from the engineering.
The company is called Roshel, the brainchild and given name of Roman Shimonov. He started the company 6 years ago, growing it to the point where they're now opening another facility to meet demand. And they've done it by relying on few outside vendors. They start with a stripped-down frame of a Ford F-550 and then build it up from there.
It's important to say that the percentage of the Canadian content in our vehicle is higher than any other vehicle. And the whole process that we're doing here, including the engineering, the R&D, the metal fabrication, milling, machining, turning, sewing, painting, sandblasting, everything is done here in-house.
Extraordinary for any Canadian company, particularly so during a supply chain crisis. But that has allowed Roshel to increase production tenfold in the last year alone.
So here you can see the vehicles in different stages. Over here you can see how people are grinding, and this vehicle will be ready for paint today. Every day, as I mentioned, we need to prepare 2 vehicles.
A lot of pressure that you've put on yourself.
People that we're delivering those vehicles to are under much more pressure than us.
To date, Canada has bought 8 Senators. NATO and European allies have bought at least 90 more that have already been deployed to Ukraine, with over 100 more still to be delivered. The Senator was designed to protect its occupants. That's fairly obvious. Still, we brought its armored plating and reinforced glass to a gun range to test them out.
So this would be the SKS.
This is the more common round that the forces in Ukraine would be facing. Beautiful. There we go. And the metal holds up nicely.
The 7.62 millimeter rounds did as well as expected.
That hasn't done a thing. That hasn't done any damage.
But we were less sure about the glass because nothing is completely bulletproof.
So the 223, the SKS, and the handgun doesn't look like it went through, and it didn't. All it did was spider web and shatter. The glass did its job really well. Yeah, that's actually smooth. You don't even get a glass shard from that.
Shimonov is constantly taking input from the Ukrainian military, refining the engineering and design down to the smallest detail to improve the Senator's performance in a war zone.
It's an intimidating vehicle. Was it designed that way?
I guess so. You don't want your vehicle to look like a vehicle for clowns. You want an intimidating vehicle, right?
But it's not just about the metal. Another vital aspect for Ukrainians, technology that allows the soldiers inside the vehicle to identify the direction and caliber of bullets being fired at them.
There's something empowering about driving this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's empowering even more when you have an armored vehicle in a danger zone. Soldiers, they get an armored vehicle. Imagine what it does for them.
They aren't designed to be combat vehicles, but the Ukrainian military uses Senators for everything, from medical evacuations and prisoner swaps to shock assaults. And they have been hit. Just moments after Russian missiles landed a meter away, this video shows the Senator's ballistic glass and steel held up. The Ukrainian military reported no injuries. That sort of feedback has prompted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to ask Canada for more armored vehicles. Canada does have some capability in this area. Ottawa also bought 39 light armored vehicles made in London, Ontario by military defense giant General Dynamics. Those are en route to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Roshel can make and deliver a senator to the Ukraine military in a month. It's enough for Defense Minister Anita Anand to suggest Canada is perfectly positioned to be a major player.
I've asked my colleagues across the NATO alliance to think about Canada as a leader in this area, because what we are providing to Ukraine are brand new vehicles, fresh off the line, to make sure that Ukraine has best-in-class technology.
If Canada wants to help Ukraine on the scale it's asking for, the industry needs a lot more support, says procurement expert David Perry.
Ukrainians are basically looking to get their hands on as absolute much equipment as they can. There's definitely the potential here, but if you were to assume that that was, say, several thousand vehicles, I don't think that there's many companies in the world that can basically just snap their fingers and start tooling out that number of vehicles in only a few months' time.
But Roshel isn't waiting for the government to step in. They're projecting to make another 1,000 armored vehicles in 2023. And to do that, the company has a secret weapon.
You can see a lot of Ukrainian refugees.
This section of the Roshel plant is what makes the operation unique. When Shimonov needed experienced welders, he tapped into his Ukrainian connections to find employees who desperately wanted to contribute to the war effort. Shimonov says in total, Roshel has hired at least 30 newcomers from Ukraine since the war began. And that number keeps growing.
I have one guy that's worth 20 people, that's true. Like sometimes we in the management, we stand and we gaze and we don't understand how one person can do so much.
That person is a barrel-chested man named Volodymyr. And don't let the smile fool you, he's got an iron grip. But he says that truly strong people are the warriors, the heroes. They are fighting and defending the homeland. We're helping as much as we can, but we're not as strong as they are. Shimonov has personal motivation to help as much as he can too. His wife is Ukrainian, and he's also an immigrant. He grew up in Israel, and like all Israelis, served in the military. And then a decade ago, he sought a fresh start in the West. Canada, he says, was an easy choice.
And that's no question, no doubt that Canada is one of the best places to raise your kids and to run a business.
The extremely focused Shimonov had his first big success in the armored car industry. Far too many robberies of cash transporting vehicles are inside jobs, so he developed technology that removes control from any one person.
And with this system, we're basically able to control the vehicle remotely in an encrypted way.
How many of your armored vehicles have been robbed?
Zero.
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 Not like 1%?
Zero. 0.0%. None of our vehicles were robbed.
Cash transport giant Gardaworld has bought hundreds of Roshel armored vehicles since 2020, with plans to eventually replace its entire North American fleet. If the success of its armored cash cars is Roshel's lifeblood, the senator has become its heart.
When you see the occupied city and you see all of the people are coming from the buildings and they put the Ukrainian flag and you see that those soldiers are standing on your vehicle, that's something that, it's way beyond just making money.
And that's saying something, given that last year, Roshel topped more than $100 million in revenue in only its fifth year. Among their clients, NASA, the U.S. State Department, various security agencies in the U.S., and Western allies. Shimonov insists Roshel doesn't sell to individuals or rogue nations. As Roshel churns out senators at breakneck pace, the sound of this Canadian production line is music to the ears of Ukrainian soldiers.
To all Canadian people who support Ukraine, please keep doing it further, because we really need to be ourselves, the Ukrainians, not to be part of Russia. Thank you very much.
It seems the only person who's not a fan is a certain president.
The Russians must not like you, though.
Yeah, they don't like me and they don't like my colleagues and my company.
Shimonov found out this summer he's been blacklisted by Vladimir Putin, something he sees as a badge of honor.
For us, it's the best recognition that we could get. And I opened a bottle of champagne the day when I read that I'm in sanction list. I have another bottle for the day when Putin will be gone.